Pokemon has just announced the upcoming DLC for Scarlet and Violet with the hidden treasure of Area Zero, which will be released in 2 parts. Part 1, the Teal Mask, and Part 2, the Indigo Disk. In this video, I'm going to break down everything I've found so far relating to what the story and influences may be for the first half of the DLC. The story for the Teal Mask part of the DLC will take place in Kitikami, a far-off land with ties to your Paldean Academy. As you partake in the annual student exchange, you will explore this new land that is situated at the base of a mountain and features numerous rice paddy fields and apple orchards, allowing you to experience the more rural aspects of Japanese culture, similar to the likes found in Johto or Hisui. Whilst there, you'll have access to the new clothing option of a Jinbei, which suggests that the festival taking place whilst you visit is situated sometime during the summer, given the lightweight and breathable nature of the garments. If the live-action segments we see in this trailer are to be believed, the festival itself, or Matsuri, as it would be known in Japan, includes all the trappings one would expect from a Japanese summer festival, from fireworks to food stalls, especially those selling kakigori, and games where players use poi to fish out water balloons to win prizes. It's unclear as of yet exactly what the festival is held for, but we do know that our journey through Kitikami will have us learn of the folktales surrounding the new Pokemon revealed to us: Ogerpon, Okidogi, Monkidori, and Fezendipity. The latter 3 helped to defend Kitikami in the past, and thus are heralded as heroes, with statues built in their honor. These knitted pieces draped over the stone statues are likely in reference to the red bibs, or mayakake, you can find on statues around Japan, most commonly found on Jizo statues. But they are also notably displayed on Kitsune statues too. Each of these statues acts as a form of spiritual guardian, with Jizo statues helping to guide children who have passed away into the afterlife, and Kitsune acting as a protector to a shrine, primarily those of Inari, the Shinto god of rice, as well as other things, but primarily rice. The color red has been long held as a symbol to ward off evil in Japanese culture, so placing the color upon these statues in this manner is often used as a way of people returning the favor and protecting these guardians who keep them safe. Interestingly, it seems that the area where these knitted garments are placed on the statues coincides with this purple cord that can be found on each of the Pokemon. These too have real-world counterparts, and each represents a distinct piece of clothing worn by a samurai. Fezendipity has the cord wrapped around its waist, like an uwa obi, a sash the samurai would wear around their waist to hold their swords. Monkidori has a cord around its head, fashioned like that of a hachimake. These are believed to have been worn by samurai in order to keep their helmets from making direct contact with their heads, and therefore make them far more comfortable to wear. Though nowadays they are mostly used by sushi chefs to keep sweat out of their eyes. Then Okidogi wears the cord like a collar and leash, which, ironically, I think is all that it's meant to be. I spent forever looking for something it might symbolize, but the closest I got was this suit of armor one samurai made for his dog. I'm not sure whether this was the inspiration or not, as this particular set of armor is the only one of its kind, and is believed to have been designed as a ceremonial or decorative piece rather than anything actually used in battle. But I had to use the excuse to show you samurai dog armor. Look at it! It's ridiculous! That being said, the collar portion of this piece also doesn't stretch right the way around the neck, like the one we see on Okidogi. So, who knows? Of course, no discussion on the origins of the design of these 3 Pokemon would be complete without exploring the legend of Momotaro. In this Japanese folklore, a boy, born from a peach, ventures from his village to the castle of the Oni, a band of ogre-like demons who had been plundering his village of all its wealth. Upon his journey, he comes across the unlikely companions of a dog, a monkey, and a pheasant, who, despite despising each other and initially quarreling, Momotaro is able to ease their animosity and unite them. Together, they storm the castle of the Oni and defeat each and every one of them. As a sign of his defeat, the Oni King bows to Momotaro and removes his horns. Momotaro then returns all the stolen riches back to his village. The parallels are clear, especially when comparing this story with what we can only assume to be a similar tale written on a sign within Kitikami village. Here, we see a Pokemon trainer, flanked by Okidogi, Monkidori, and Fezendipity, all chasing a Pokemon that we infer to be Ogerpon. In this sense, we can assume that Ogerpon itself is designed to represent the Oni of the story, with its name even being derived from the word ogre, which is kind of a translation of Oni. This leads us nicely into the meaning of the masks in the DLC. You see, masks are scattered across many facets of Japanese culture. Theater performances, religious traditions, ceremonial dances, and even ancient warfare. No doubt, given the design origins we've already discussed, it's likely that the mask worn by Ogerpon is an Oni mask. However, despite their terrifying appearance, Oni masks are not in and of themselves evil. In fact, quite the opposite. The Oni mask is worn to ward off evil and bring good luck to the wearer. This then begs the question, is Ogerpon the villain of the DLC story? If I had to hazard a guess, I'd say no. Here's why. First, it struck me as odd that when seeing the depiction of the trainer with his 3 companions chasing off the Oni on the sign in Kitikami village, I couldn't help but notice the size of the Oni. When compared with the official artwork we have seen for Ogerpon, they don't seem to add up. In fact, Ogerpon seems to have stubby proportions that reminded me more of a Pokemon like Marshadow than anything like the Pokemon depicted here. Perhaps this is simply a case of an artist's interpretation of folktales leading to Ogerpon being depicted as larger than it actually is. But when again compared to the masks displayed at one of the stalls, we see a distinct lack of those yellow horns on Ogerpon. Perhaps again, that's because he is the former Oni king who took off his horns once defeated, just like in the story with Momotaro. But if we look again at the portrayal of the Oni on the sign, we see long flailing arms that Ogerpon simply doesn't have. Instead, it possesses arms that look like they are covered by long sleeves of a kimono. As such, I would theorize that Ogerpon is not in fact the same Pokemon that Okidogi, Monkidori, and Fezendipity defended Kitikami from in the legend. But perhaps due to its mischievous nature, it will be mistaken as such during your time there. Given this, you'll team up with these 3 Pokemon once again to hunt it down before discovering the truth. Perhaps Ogerpon even has a secondary form, where it takes off the mask. In fact, during the story in Kitikami, we will be introduced to 2 new characters, Kieran and Carmine. Kieran is described as a young, shy boy who often hides behind his older sister, who, in contrast, is brash and can come off as selfish. It's my belief that this dynamic will be reflective of that of Ogerpon and its mask. Without it, he is subdued and unwilling to be seen. Yet with it on, it bolsters his confidence, and thus he is more willing to act brazenly. So much so that you and the 3 companion Pokemon have to step in to deal with him. Speaking of the 3 companion Pokemon, I don't think we've seen all they have to offer either. Given the green, blue, and reddish hue found on them, I had assumed, like I would have thought many of you did too, that these were the starter Pokemon found in Kitikami. However, given their status within the village, it's possible that, just like Urshifu before them, these are technically legendary Pokemon. Of course, there is an alternate option, that the likeness we see of these 3 in the official artwork is that of the final stage of starter Pokemon, but it's not the same as those Pokemon who took down the Oni so many years ago. Instead, I believe these 3 also have an alternate form, a hero form if you will. One where they too don masks to become Super Sentai! Or, as you may be more familiar, Power Rangers! You need to only look once again at that mask stall. Here we can see 3 masks. One of a dog, monkey, and bird. Yet instead of eyes, they seem to have visors, similar to those seen on Super Sentai. So that gives us 4 Pokemon, all with the ability to put on masks to change their forms. So, that means it's time for you to let me know what you think of this theory. And tell me if you have any other insights into the influences we can see from this trailer. If so, let me know in the comments down below, because that's going to do it for today, guys. Thank you very much for watching. I hope you enjoyed it, and I hope you join me again on the next one. But until then, we'll catch you later.